No, I had to get some stuff for a recipe, but I was just like, you know what? I need to treat myself. Yeah.
And you treated yourself with a delicious bottle of root beer.
Yeah.
I love it. You know what I haven't had in a long time? Cream soda.
Which one?
Anyone. They're all good. I have not had a cream soda in too long because I can't drink any full bottle or can of soft drink anymore because it's just too sweet. Like it makes me sick and it hurts my teeth. But cream soda used to be one of my favorites right after Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I actually recently got addicted to Dr. Pepper again. I liked it once before, but like I grew out of it, and then someone reintroduced it back to me now, and I'm just like, yep, still love it. And yeah, but cream soda, man, I love Crush's cream soda. I know there's been a Dad's no, was it Dad's root beer? There is a version of cream soda. I think either Dad's root beer does or A&W does, but I don't remember it being good or bad. So.
I think I know the one you mean, and it's all clear.
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah, it's clear cream soda. Yeah.
We should be slamming down some Crushes right now because those are pink cans, and this is our Valentine Spectacular.
Absolutely. Right? Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. It's definitely Valentine Spectacular. And you know what? I'm feeling the love from Marvel. I really am.
They gave us some love this week, man. I mean, today is Sunday. We're recording this on Sunday, and in the past week, which was Valentine's week, within the last 7 days, we got 3 huge things dropped in our laps, and that's what we're here to talk about today. First of all, welcome to Infinity Rewatch. I'm Andrew Fantasia.
What's up? I'm Roger Whitted.
Well, and we are feeling the love on our Valentine Spectacular because we got, in the span of 7 days, we got a trailer for the new Deadpool movie. We got a casting announcement for Fantastic Four, finally, 17 years after they announced the film. And we got a trailer and a release date for X-Men 97. And it is way sooner than I think any of us believed it was going to be. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to just lightly touch on today, is what this week was like and what we think of it and all these things. But before we jump in, do you have any like overarching thoughts of just what this week did to you?
It's funny because that's not an easy question to answer. Because it hits you on numerous levels. First of all, Fantastic Four, I mean, it's kind of left me speechless because we did our own version of like who we thought should be cast for Fantastic Four, and at the same time, like, growing up with the Fox version of Fantastic Four, you're kind of like, man, I can't wait till MCU takes this, and it's happened, and we're at this moment. So it's not an easy feat to digest. Also, my brother is like, if you were to say like, out of the siblings here, who's the bigger fan of Fantastic Four and X-Men? That's my brother's side. Like, out of those two superhero groups, that's like this is his year for Marvel, like, or going forward, this is his Marvel. Like, hopefully they don't mess up his franchises, because these are big ones. Like, and not only him, but like, of course, any fan really. So yeah, that's not an easy question to answer, but I think that answers itself by saying that, because that's a lot, man. That's a lot. I remember saying to my brother, he was like, he's like, perfect. Or sorry, he started with how did it start? I sent him the Deadpool trailer, and then he's like, amazing, they did it. And getting my brother's stamp of approval is a good sign, right? And then he starts obviously saying, definitely headed towards Secret Wars, which could be very fun. Given we don't know we don't know what they'll do with Kang, they could go Beyonder or Doom, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Marvel's really come out swinging, and this is an interesting time because Marvel's kind of gone through the ringer a little bit. They've been hit left, right, and center. Marvel's didn't land so well, and on the back end, there's been a lot of confusion as to like what's going on behind the scenes. And the truth be told is there was too much. And even the guy, the Bob Iger guy, comes out and he's like, I've said it before, man. When there's too much volume, it pollutes the quality. We need to go back to, we need to dial it back a bit, and it's a lot. But man, this is a big statement for Marvel, being like, yo, don't worry, we're gonna get things right. We're gonna fix this.
It sure is. It feels like I'm gonna quote a movie that I don't think has been quoted or referenced positively since it came out, and that is the early 2000s smash Sean Connery hit, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. There's a scene, right? You've seen it, right?
Oh, of course I've seen it.
Okay. Right at the end, when the bad guy is running away and he's trying to escape, and Sean Connery's got his little sidekick buddy there, and his sidekick got the sniper rifle, and he's ready to take him out, but Sean is like, take your time, boy. Take your time. I feel like that's what Feige is doing. Like, everybody was about to rush. And Feige's like, wait, let's hold up. Let's take our time. And now this was the squeezing of the trigger, which was this week in general. So I guess we'll go chronologically. We'll go with a week ago today, the first thing we got, which was the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, their first trailer for it. We touched on it a little bit when we did our Infinity Rewatch X episode, but if there's any lingering things that need to be said, there's one thing in particular you and I need to do. But Deadpool and Wolverine, Ryan, this trailer, what did it do for you? What didn't it do for you?
What it did for me was seeing Wolverine, for what little we saw of him. But yes, man, what did it do for me? I think what it did for me is just take us on a ride. Like the Deadpool ride that we need to go on. As viewers and listeners have seen with the show before, I'm not particularly a fan of the character Deadpool. The character. Because in the comics and other properties, other platforms, he's all over the place. He's a really hard character to follow. Sometimes, for me, his humor can land with me, but it reminds me of South Park in the sense of when it's funny, it's hilarious. When it's not funny, I feel like I've wasted my time. And there's an art form to that. But Deadpool the movie, I think the movie really, I don't want to use the word ground, because on this show, anytime someone says grounded, it's usually means a bad thing. And yeah, so sorry, I remember also watching a YouTube video recently about X-Men, the First Class trilogy, and talking about how it ended, and the director used the word grounded. And I haven't watched it yet, but I know what that means. But yeah, so anyways, going back to the trailer, I don't want to say grounded, but the movie does a good job of really focusing Deadpool, and it creates a fun ride. And so that trailer really shows me that it's gonna be a fun ride. And I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried about the movie experience for that character. What I'm interested to see is the movie experience for the universe, because that's why at this point, Marvel's doesn't land well. All this stuff doesn't land well because it is focused on these characters, but they don't answer the big old question, which was the real charm and gem of the first few phases, which is what does that mean for the universe? And what I'm curious is clearly it looks like it's Deadpool kills the Fox universe, I guess is what I'll call it. Yeah, because you don't know, we could get a lot of different properties just beyond the X-Men, and have Deadpool just kill them all, and it'll be in a fun way of doing it. I've heard rumors that people have seen Doom in the trailer. I've watched it a few times. I think those people were like me when I thought I saw Doom in the Loki season 2, Loki trailer, Loki TV series trailer. So yeah, a lot to unpack there. But yes, what it did for me was it's going to be a fun ride for Deadpool, living up to the theme that he's had thus far in his trilogy, which has been really good. What it didn't do for me was it doesn't necessarily answer how this is going to affect the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because we still don't know a lot about the TVA. It's cool to see the TVA be a part of Deadpool's world, but I don't know what that means. Like, what does it mean?
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, that's one of the things the trailer didn't do for me either, which is, and it's not even a bad thing that it didn't do this. It's just a thing that's left in the air, which is we still don't know what this movie is about.
Yeah.
We don't know what Deadpool is going to be trying to accomplish. We don't know if this is the same Deadpool that we've seen in the other two movies. We don't know if that's the same Pyro we've seen. Like, it could be completely anything and everything. Like, literally all this trailer really did was tell us this movie for sure is going to exist.
It's going to exist, and it acknowledges the MCU. That's all we know.
Yes. And like, we don't know if this movie even has a villain or if it's just Deadpool and Wolverine bopping around fighting each other. I can tell you one thing, though. God, I want to live in that world where Wolverine's costume didn't get spoiled for us, because can you imagine how we would have reacted seeing that little glimpse of blue and yellow for a second? We would have lost our minds. We would have, like, you would have gotten a phone call from Nick and he would have been like, and like, you guys wouldn't have even been speaking English. You would have just been speaking in tongues. Isabella would have had to pour holy water on you.
It's true. It just goes back to you know, that same question with Spider-Man. Like, what if Spider-Man was not introduced in the trailer and we got to see the movie appearance? Like, yeah, like and the fans like got it front and center before, like, with the leaks and everything, right? And I remember Ryan Reynolds being pretty disappointed about that as well, is that, like, they wanted to wait to show us the full outfit.
Yeah.
But here we are, right? Like, it had fans, you know, fans do this to themselves, I guess. But man, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer for sure. I mean, it would have taken this trailer and turned it into an event that, because our generation grew up with that costume, this trailer could have been something special for us. It could have been a turning point, and now it's not. Now we got that turning point still when we all saw that costume leaked, but there's a difference between seeing the raw ingredients and knowing what kind of cake it's going to be, and having somebody pull a cloth over our eyes and saying, "Surprise, here's a cake."
Yeah.
Right? But it's two very different experiences, but it is what it is. I was pleasantly surprised to see Pyro, even though, you know, it's Pyro at the end of the day. Cool, right? Neat. Matthew McFadden makes me excited because that guy is awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing his character's name is Paradox. I'm looking forward to seeing what he contributes to the TVA things. But one thing we have to do now, Ryan, because this movie's coming out in July, which is soonish. It feels like it's going to be creeping up on us, though. So you and I need to do our normal thing here, which is we got to bet on how long we think it's going to be. We got to do a runtime guesstimate. So, taking into account, here's the thing.
That's not an easy feat, man. You're really hitting hard with these questions today. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Here's where my head's at in terms of the runtime. You and I both thought Multiverse of Madness was going to be longer than it ended up being, right? We looked at what that movie was quote unquote promising, and we said, this needs to be a long movie. And then it wasn't super long. I have a feeling the same thing is going to be true of Daredevil. I have a feeling not Daredevil, Deadpool. I have a feeling it's going to be something that we think is this giant epic thing, because to us it feels that way. But I think it's just going to be like a quick, breezy story that has a job to do plot-wise, whatever that may be, because we don't know yet. And it's just going to do it and move on with it. So I'm going to guess it's a perfectly serviceable 2 hours and 7 minutes.
2 hours and 7 minutes. Okay. Considering Deadpool 1 was like an hour and 40 something minutes, and Deadpool 2 was roughly right at the 2 hour mark. I'm gonna despite our Price is Right rules, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with 2 hours
Uh-huh.
and 20 minutes.
Wow. 220. I hope you're right.
I hope I am too. But I mean, to be fair, I know that the rule of thumb is they like to keep it 2 hours max. But I just feel like it's the third movie. There's a lot of pressure here because everyone loves Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. Everyone wants to see Return of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. There's
Mhm.
too much stake. There's too much at stake here. They need to land. Marvel needs to land this to get the faith and to renew the exhaustion that and concern that people are having with the MCU. So there's a lot at stake here. I think I think a longer movie may benefit, especially if it's Deadpool, just for the fun of it. But Deadpool's got to connect, or Deadpool's got to connect also the X-Men world to the MCU, considering that this is the first kind of X-Men led project in the MCU. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to finish. There's a lot to complete. There's a lot to connect. So it's going to take more time than less.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, before we move on from Deadpool, one last question. I don't know my answer for this, so maybe you will. If you could pick one X-Men character that we haven't gotten in a movie yet to show up in Deadpool, whether it's a cameo, whether it's like a supporting role, whatever, who are you picking?
That's a dirty question.
Mhm.
That's a hard one. They've covered a lot of the ground, though. Like, to be honest with you,
They have.
They got Bishop. They got was it Nomad? They got Apocalypse. They even have Omega Red. Omega Red's in it. He's not a big character, but he's in it.
Which one is he in?
He's in Deadpool too. He's in the prison with the others.
Oh, okay.
And they covered Juggernaut twice.
Mhm.
They covered Multiple Man. Like they've covered a lot of ground.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a tough question. Give me a second.
Okay.
Give me a second.
I think I might have mine.
Okay. You want to go first?
Okay. And it's just based on how wacky this movie's going to be. I'm going to go with Lady Deadpool.
Okay.
Just because, just to be fun, and we haven't seen her, and this is probably going to be. I would imagine this is the last Deadpool movie. I don't think there's a Deadpool 4 in our future. So, while you're here, go on.
I've become a big fan of like when it's right to end it, end it. Like don't try to continue it. There's other stories you can tell that don't need to be anywhere near related. They can be in the same world. They just don't have to be related. Star Wars taught me that, and I'm pretty proud of it. You know, Andor. Look at that. Look at Andor. Big fan of Andor over here.
One Way Out.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to say I want to see Forge.
Yes, that was my runner-up.
Forge is someone I want to see because there's a lot you could do with him, and he could, in my mind, I'm thinking strategically here, but in my mind, he could be a great way to manipulate or connect to the TVA with the manipulation of time.
Yes.
That would be really cool to see. So because you already have Bishop, technically, and you already have Cable, you might as well do Forge and then connect the whole time story. Do it that way. So that's what I'm going to say. I mean, Magneto, I got me a great Magneto. Got me great Professor X, both iterations. Don't matter. They're both fantastic. Yeah, I was going to say Omega Red, but like considering he's technically already there, I was going to say Gambit, but we had an okay Gambit. We had an okay. I mean, that movie wasn't great. The movie's not near great, but let's just say the cards were stacked against him.
Yeah, and I think it's almost a sure bet that you're getting a Channing Tatum cameo in this film. because that's how a Deadpool film would roll.
I would not be surprised. It's kind of the low-hanging fruit. I mean, everyone knew it was happening. It was so close to happening, but to be fair to Tyler, man, Tyler seems to be always getting cast for the right movies at the wrong time. Like he's just like, these movies are all great ideas that he needs to be part of, and he's a great actor. But man, the writing just puts him in the ground. I feel so bad for him because he is really good.
He is. I can't wait till we get to that movie in Infinity X. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh man, I know. Oh. The day Tyler Kitsch gets a role that's like perfect for him, and it's like a big nerd movie, he'll nail it. Like he will destroy it. But until that day, oh my God, those 2000s were rough for that guy. Let me tell you. Ooh.
I'll still never forgive Disney for burying John Carter, because that was like one of the best movies of that year.
Yeah.
And, regardless, that's an old wound I don't want to open up. Yeah. All right, so Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, fantastic. And then the week went on, and on the day of the Valentine itself, what happened? We got the news that, we've been hearing and waiting for so long. I think I know what happened with you, Ryan. I think you were at a restaurant with your wife having a romantic Valentine's dinner, and you were about to say something lovely to her, and then your phone beeped, and you looked at it, and you got the news, and then you just kind of pushed her away and called your brother, and you're like, oh my God, look at that. Because now we know for realsies that Reed Richards is Pedro Pascal, Sue Storm is Vanessa Kirby, Johnny Storm is Joseph Quinn, and Ben Grimm is Eben Moss Backrack. Yes, Hellfire Club, baby. We have our Fantastic Four.
I am so excited for this. Oh my God. But you know what I love about this too? Is that they didn't wait for some massive convention. They didn't wait. They didn't wait to tell us. They just knew. The fans knew that we needed this. The Feige gods knew that we needed this, and Feige's like, I'm sick and tired of this stuff. We're gonna send out the message and let them know who's who. Like I loved it when they got it in front of the audience, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan lately of big corporate heads when they get in front of the audience and lay down the facts. And I was a big fan when they did that investor call, and Feige's like, yeah, by the way, Tatiana Maslany, boom, She-Hulk. Nailed it, right? Like, let's get ahead of this and just start telling us all this stuff. So to drop it like that, I'm happy about it. Like, sure, I would have loved for Feige to do a YouTube video where he came out and came out in front of that screen like he did the first time and laid out some announcements for us. But like, I'm happy with this too. Just don't leave us in the dark, man. The fans are fueling your fire, so you might as well keep them in tune and not let the rumor mill get out of hand. So the fact that they released these announcements is great. It was actually funny what happened, how I found out, because I didn't see it right out of the gate. My brother I think either you or my brother got to me first. I think it was, no, did I tell you or you told? When did
you told me. You and James kind of told me simultaneously.
Okay, so Nick told me first, and he left a message. And you got to understand the show. Like I said, people, my brother's like the Fantastic Four and X-Men guy. Like, if you're gonna go to him, you go to him for that. For me, I've been getting the Marvel that I lived in. Like, I got my Spider-Man, I got my Captain America, all the street level heroes. Like, that's where I live. I live on the streets, yo. I know what life is like.
It's true. When I first met you, you said, "Listen, B, I'm from the streets, G," and I was like, "Stop calling me letters." And you were like, "Hold up, Q."
Hold up, Q. So my brother's kind of like going to be the interesting critic for this stuff. But to be fair, I do know some Fantastic Four, and of course, X-Men is kind of like a good entry level for anybody.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he sent me a message, and it started off with perfect casting choice for the Thing. That's his opener right there. That's his opener, and he's like, also coming out next year. It's finally happening. And and my first message to this, because I didn't know this happened, I'm like, what happened? What did I miss? And then it's just, he dropped the image in the chat, and then I was like, what? But for me, yes, the casting choice for the Thing is perfect. Thing is how my brother said it. Thing is the source. Like, he is going to be the key to the group side, like the community element of the MCU. If you don't get the Thing right, then you've really hurt the foundation of connecting so much. So, like, Thing is super important to land. Other character choices, I mean, all these characters are really key and important regardless, but Thing is like, you need to land him, because if you don't, then you're going to lose a lot of the connection he has to a lot of the characters. Like, he literally works on so many levels. He connects to the streets, he connects to the mutants, he connects to galactic or the cosmic heroes. He plays and he interweaves through so many groups. He's been an Avenger. He's been a part of all sorts of groups. So it's really important to get him right. And I think that it was smart to actually cast this actor, because much like, you know, Robert Downey and a lot of key casting choices, like, he's on the up and up. He's not too big yet, but he's getting there, and it's kind of perfect for him to get in that role.
Yeah, the Thing is my favorite Fantastic Four person, so I just wanted them not even so much to cast him right, but I just wanted them to do him right and have him look right.
Yeah,
I love the way he looked and sounded in the two Tim Story movies. Like, I thought that Thing was pretty spot on, regardless of what you feel about the movies. I like the Reed and Sue casting. I like that they went older, people in their 40s, late 40s, early 50s, because that just felt right. I got the message that James sent me was literally just the photo, right?
right.
And I saw it and I looked at it. And I'm like, okay, happy Valentine's Day from the Fantastic Four. And I didn't realize that it was.
Like, I didn't realize it was a casting announcement.
I just thought he found a cool picture of the Fantastic Four and it said Happy Valentine's Day. I was like, oh, that's nice. Yeah. And then I saw your message to check Instagram, and I'm like, wait a minute. But the casting, I think, is all cool. I'm happy with it. It'd be cool to see Joseph Quinn again as well. But for me, Ryan, what has me the most giddy and just like put me in a coma till next year.
You better not say Herbie. I swear to God.
Well, actually, I forgot about Herbie. But yeah, I'm glad he's there too. But no, and it's not even really fully confirmed, so I'm not getting my hopes all the way up. But damn, does it ever look like we're getting that 60s Fantastic Four movie? Like a period piece movie is what it looks like is happening here. And that for me takes this from a gauntlet to two gauntlets right away, and excitement wise. Like, these characters alone, fine, cool, great. But the idea of a movie where it is literally happening in the 60s, probably a 60s of a different multiverse, because that would make sense just plot wise. But oh my God, that's what I wanted. That is exactly what I wanted. Basically, the aesthetics of The Incredibles as a live action movie. And if they can get, I don't even know if he's still alive, but if they can get John Barry to do the music again, or Michael Giacchino to at least do a John Barry-esque music thing, because I think, that's what Fantastic Four did. To make it sound like a John Barry James Bond score, like, take my money. Here it is. I don't even have it anymore, but take it. And that is going to elevate this movie so much for me. That's what I just want 60s Fantastic Four. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I do and I don't. Because the problem is there's so much to cover for Fantastic Four. So if you're going to do it right, I do feel like you need to go back to the source. Like, if you remember their first comic, the monsters coming out of the street and they're all battling the green monster. Like, that's what I kind of feel like they're going for here. So you're kind of right with the idea of The Incredibles. I think that's perfect. I also think that kind of like it's kind of a play off of WandaVision a little bit. Like, what if they're in Wanda's world? Like, like, but they are who they are, but they're stuck in Wanda's like 60s world, and then the curtain lifts kind of thing.
Oh. But would her world still be around if she's dead?
Well, that's the thing, right? I'm just saying, like, maybe they film it from them being hypnotized in Wanda's world.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can get behind that. As long as it's got that aesthetic, I am there for all of it.
So, see, here's the thing, though, because Peyton Reed, this is people actually, if you think about it, it's funny because Peyton Reed pitched a Fantastic Four movie in the 60s. So I'm curious if they've actually still listened to his advice, because he pitched to Fox a huge idea for the Fantastic Four. I think we've talked about this a few times. But I'm trying to find real quick if I have the notes on this, but he pitched a 60s idea Fantastic Four, and he had some crazy ideas.
And he's the director of this, right?
No, he's not. He's not the director of this. But he's a part of the Fantastic Four family, right? Or sorry, he's part of the MCU family because he directed Ant-Man, right?
Now I can't remember who's directing this. Oh, Matt Shakman.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the guy. It was supposed to be the guy who did Spider-Man, who I was very excited about. Was the Mark Webb guy, so I was really excited about that, but he bowed out, which respectfully so. I mean, you just got over creating a masterpiece that's Spider-Man. Yeah, like you just nailed Spider-Man, and the pressure of getting that right, I don't think you'd want to jump right back into the fray.
That's a lot, buddy.
That's just crazy. So Peyton Reed told Yahoo in 2015, describing his original vision. He further elaborated the pitch and confirmed that Fantastic Four would have been a period piece. One of the big ideas was set in the 60s thing. At that time, was structurally gonna be basically like the Beatles' 1964 comedy musical, A Hard Day's Night, where we were not even going to deal with the origin story.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, put that in my mouth. That's what I want.
I've never seen this Beatles musical he's referring to, but I mean, already they've checked off the box that it's set in the 60s by the look of it. But, watching The Incredibles, The Incredibles kind of has a 60s feel to it, but it's not a 60s period piece. It's modern times.
It is. It's subtle, but like Brad Bird has confirmed, it is set in the 1960s.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I'm curious. I like it personally. One thing I do like to see is, first of all, I like to see, maybe because the TVA will play a part in like bringing that Fantastic Four to the modern times of the MCU. But at the same time, I love that they're covering these eras, because if you think about it, what I like, and they haven't even explored enough of it yet. They did it in Marvel's What If, but to be honest, I think me and a lot of other Marvel fans are not really fully signed on with the What If run here. Mm-hmm. But like, I love that Ant-Man was the 80s. And like they were doing like espionage, spy stuff. Like, okay, what else did they do in the 80s? Like, I'm all for that. Like, let's see what else they did. Like, was Blade there? Like, I don't know. But like, I would have loved to have seen that stuff. So for them to do a 60s Fantastic Four, okay, awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? So sign me up, man. I'm all for filling in the gaps of how the universe is formed.
Yeah, same here. If that film can look and feel like a James Bond, like a Sean Connery James Bond film, and The Incredibles had a baby, oh my God, it's already my favorite film of all time. Like I'm already waiting in line at the theater right now.
Yeah, no, I'm super stoked. I mean, again, I was telling my brother, like, I can't believe we live in a time now where MCU has the Fantastic Four, and now we have a cast. So it's only a matter of time now until we get this movie, and they're projecting for it to come out next year, which is insane. Like,
I don't even think they've rolled camera. Like, what this is the turnaround is worrying for me for a lot of movies. Like they're saying, yeah, it's coming out this date. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah, like, can you make that promise? I don't know. Like I'm learning this in business right now. Like you got to be careful when you set your deadlines. Like let me
Yes.
tell you right now. Like when your client's expecting stuff, you gotta stay on top of that. So.
It's like when you order Chinese takeout and it comes like really quickly. And you're like, did you make this properly?
Yeah.
That was way too fast.
Yeah.
So that would have been enough to create a benchmark week in MCU history, but no, they didn't stop there. They had one last nugget of chocolate.
I love how you say it's a nugget because it's not even it's nothing small by any stretch of the imagination.
Nothing small at all, because there's no other way to put it. And it's coming at the end of March. It's coming in a month, essentially. This X-Men 97 trailer that I think everybody, we're Generation Y. Yeah, we're Generation Y / millennial. That's what we are. I think everybody from our generation, Ryan, wept with joy a little bit when that trailer came out. Everything from the beginning of it with that old 90s TV cabinet and hearing that announcer say, check your local listings. Do you remember the last time you heard a voice say, check your local listings? Oh my God.
I remember seeing a post that said like, oh, I know what I'm doing for the weekend, and it showed like the TV guide. I was like, oh yeah, I remember when the TV guide used to tell me what my weekend's gonna look like.
Yeah. Oh, and it's just the seamlessness. Like this literally looks like you're picking up a few months later. Like the last show ended in May. We've just been sitting through the summer vacation, and now it's September, and we're gonna turn on our old TV and we're gonna hear that voice say, "Previously on X-Men."
Oh, yeah.
Right. I don't know. I'm at a loss right now. I'm still sort of emotionally getting over this. Ryan, what did this make you feel? You were how old when you were watching the original show?
What was it? 94? Was it 94?
90. I think it started in 92.
92.
I think that's when it started.
Yeah, 1992. 1992. Oh my God. I'm trying to see the first air dates. 1992.
I want to say it was Halloween 92, I think. Or
it was. Wow. I read it just as you said it.
Oh, damn.
October 31st, 1992.
Wow.
Okay. Okay, hold on.
Do you remember what costume you wore that year?
Oh man, I was 6 years old. Okay, I was roughly around 6. Was I? Hold on. Yeah, I was born in 86, so roughly around 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You were 6.5.
Okay, so Halloween costumes at that time. So first of all, my mom was My mom is an incredible seamstress. She actually recently got back into sewing.
Oh, cool.
And she would make costumes from scratch. And she made me a Spider-Man costume with the web for the armpits.
I remember you telling me about that. That's so cool.
And she also made me a Spawn outfit from scratch with the ski mask, and then had the silver kind of eye things, no green eyes because I need to be able to see.
Yeah.
And then she gave me a chain and a big red cape with the big thing in the front. She also made me a white Power Ranger outfit. Now, I remember as a kid, I was a little upset because, like, the helmet, she didn't make the helmet. She just gave me my hockey helmet, which was a white hockey helmet, and then designed it. And I was like,
this is the worst thing ever, Mom.
So I want the real helmet. But she did make the suit from scratch. So I do remember that. I don't remember. I know there's a photo of the white Power Ranger one. My mom has the photo of the Spider-Man one. So next time I'll take a picture of it. And she also dressed me up as Burt Ward's Robin at one point. Yeah.
So that might have been this year. I think that's the year. I think this was the Burt Ward Robin year when X-Men debuted.
Yeah. So I have the image of me as Robin as well.
Nice.
They may never see the light of day. We'll see.
Oh, trust me, they will.
Spider-Man, actually, I will gladly show because it is madly impressive what my mom was able to design.
So cool.
From scratch. Anyway, so yes, I remember that. And I remember when I saw the intro and like, when the music hits you as hard as that did, it's a pretty big deal. And then what was funny, and what I remember about the soundtrack too, that makes me laugh every time, was when we were in college, someone had a ringtone of the X-Men, and we were in Mr. Takahashi's class, and someone's ringtone went off, and it went like, and we're like, just like. We had a heart attack. But yeah, no, I just remember that show hit hard and fast. But and this is one of those shows, like I was entertained, I loved it, but I didn't know why I loved it. I just loved it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew it was Marvel, and I was like loving it for that. But I didn't know why I actually liked it. But as I got older and kept rewatching it over time, like I will never forget too. Like my brother and I were coming home from like high school or even like college, and my brother would be like, "Yo, they're doing reruns of X-Men," and like we would like fly to the living room, and like and the couch was in a precarious position because it was in like a wide open space. The living room, there was like a wide open space, and there's a couch right in the middle. So
in the basement, right?
Yeah, in the basement.
Yeah.
So there's a long hallway. So we would run and like Superman dive into the couch. And then like we would watch it. So I remember they did one episode that my brother was like, "Oh, it's hard to go," went to watch it. Yeah. So what happened was I'm like, "Yo, we got to put on popcorn." So after the intro played, of course, it like 2 seconds in, it went to commercial. So I ran upstairs, put popcorn in, and I went 225. And I ran back downstairs. Yeah. And then we watched the entire show. And then I was like, my brother was like, "What happened to the popcorn?" And we go upstairs, there's black smoke everywhere because instead of going 225, I went 225. So I left that thing sitting on high for 22 minutes. It caused a small fire in the microwave. And it was the whole upstairs area. There's more to that story, but the whole upstairs area was like bird popcorn. But the point is my brother and I, like the complexity of the story is really what made that show insanely amazing. Like, people make fun of soap operas a lot. And I remember growing up, people would make fun of soap operas, but they actually use soap opera style writing in the show to really deliver on complex topics. And that's what really made the show genius. And I remember watching behind the scenes on the show. The producer, she fought for the show like tooth and nail because they didn't think it was going to succeed. And she's like, "No, it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. It's going to be awesome." And it wasn't one of those shows that was mass produced for toys. Toys kind of played aside to it. But she's like, "No, I want the story to be like helping kids handle complex topics because that's what X-Men's all about." And she crushed it, man. She created this experience that we now have. That's lived the test of time to a point where we are now remaking, or like not remaking the series, because why would you reboot it?
Exactly.
Why would you reboot it? Try to make a real life series of it? No. Here's what you do. You continue. You just pick up where you left off, and you just keep on going downtown. Now, here's the thing. All right, I'm a little ranty right now, but I'm passionate about this one, so I'm gonna really dive deep here. The other thing is that I remember the end, or I at least remember most of the ending of X-Men. And now I'm on my path of rewatching it as we speak, and I'm pretty sure the Shi'ar intervene right at the end and say, your modern medicine considers him dead, but we have Shi'ar technology that can help him.
Yes.
So I don't remember him actually dying, but here we are. So I'm really curious to see. Now, there was a show after that called Wolverine and the X-Men when Wolverine was like the Hollywood star, and they were making all sorts of stuff around Wolverine. And I didn't watch this cartoon until much later on, like literally like less than 3 years ago, where I was like, I'll check out the show, see what it was all about. Turns out it's amazing. You need to watch it if you haven't. It's impossible to find, but if you know your cyber pirate ways, I'm sure you'll find it.
Yar, matey.
Yar, matey. And Xavier's in a coma, and he tells Wolverine to like reunite the X-Men. The world's going to be in peril, and he's in this coma because of a time paradox. So that's kind of the interesting angle of this. Yeah, I'm so excited for this. I am ready for this. I will say though, I'm all excited about the animation. I can't wait to see more X-Men powers unleashed. It looks like they're really amping up their powers, making them do more, because I'm sure with the old show, the limitation of animation and time and production, they probably didn't do as much as they would have liked to have done in terms of powers and having the fun that they had.
Right.
But this time around, it looks like they're going fully unleashed. Watching Gambit team up with Wolverine, igniting his claws. That was really cool. Storm doing her thing. I'm all for it. And one thing I will say though about this trailer, first of all, as you can see, I was really excited about it. I was just ignited. The fact, again, just that's how you do it. You don't start from square one and rewrite the whole show. No, you pick up right where they left off and you tell us where it's going. Now, a couple of questions. I assume this is separate from the MCU, and this is just a fun Feige being like, I was a fan of this stuff too, and this is what I want to see. That's what I feel like this is. This exactly is. It's like, you know what? And it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you know what? If you're new to Marvel and you've never seen the X-Men cartoon before, you now want to watch it. Because if that trailer did not get you excited, which I imagine it did, then you're probably going to be like, wow, I have never seen the X-Men cartoon before. I wonder what it's like. And it's going to blow your mind as it did ours growing up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is the one thing that I latch on to here more than anything else when it comes to this cartoon is the idea that they are doing this unprecedented thing of taking a cartoon and just picking up where it left off. Like that is, as far as I can tell, that's unheard of. And then to keep things looking the way they look and sounding the way they sound, it's just something special about this. It's not just another Fuller House revival kind of thing. Like it really is taking advantage of the medium and just saying like, hey, that was a long summer break, kids, but now we're back with season 5 or whatever season this is. So this will be the 6th season. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that growing up, that show existed for me at the same time as Batman and Spider-Man. Those 3 shows just kind of
the superhero power hour.
They became just this blob of just amazingness that I grew up with, and the snippets of X-Men that I remember are just that. They're snippets, right? Like I remember appreciating the show and liking it, but not really fully appreciating how mature it was because I was like 7. But there's just little things that stayed with me through the years. Obviously the theme song, things like Bishop showing up and introducing himself and being like, the name's Bishop, and like Xavier and Magneto in the Savage Land, like little things like that stuck with me. And it's not something, because such was the nature of television back then, even though, like you mentioned before, TV Guide was a thing. Those shows, X-Men and Spider-Man, they were not shows that I was able to see from beginning to end. It was just like, I kind of know when it's on and I'm going to catch it if I'm able. But it took a long time for me to actually see the shows from beginning. It took like last 5 years when I was able to find them online, whether it was Disney Plus or Métis, because they were hard to get a hold of. So I wish I had been able to watch X-Men, the animated series, from start to finish back when it was new. And I'm sure if I had been one of the older kids at the time, I would have been knowledgeable enough to do that. But just because I think that would amplify my love for this even more. But as it stands right now, I still feel that giddiness, Ryan. Like I think I told you in some podcast we did that last fall, I started watching Boy Meets World for the first time ever, right?
Yeah.
And that's a real 90s show. And in the first season, Corey's like 11, and he's talking about something, and he's talking about how his day usually goes. And he's like, I get home from school and I watch X-Men. And like he said that was a line he said. And I'm just like, I'm thinking about how universal that was, because Corey was meant to be the universal 11-year-old boy, and how universal that must have been for kids, not just our age, but kids older than us, and maybe even some younger than us, to have that afternoon experience of watching X-Men. And now all those kids all across the world are feeling the same thing we are. Like, that's a beautiful thing that, like, we can't stress enough how important that is and how special that is. And all I can add to that is I don't know what kind of person I will become if they do the same thing with Spider-Man, but I think you will see me shed actual tears on this show. And I'm dead freaking serious about that. Like, if at some point in this show it sets up like Spider-Man 97 or whatever, and we get a continuation of that show, which was even more of a cliffhanger because he's looking for Mary Jane, dude, I will curl up and cry like a baby in a good way. Like these shows are so childhood linked to me that it's a primal thing at this point. It's not even just I like that thing. It's like animalistic, primal, like love. So what they've done here is special beyond words.
I love that you say that too, because you have to remember also at this time, there were so many running Marvel cartoons that you may not even have been aware of or watched. Like the Hulk had a great animated series as well. If you have not watched the Hulk, it's really good. It gets a little mishmashed a little bit because you can clearly tell they changed rhythm a bit to kind of make it more entertaining and bring in more kids to watch it.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man had the X-Men in his series.
Yes.
He had Iron Man in his series. He had Cap. He had everybody.
Those shows were the MCU before the MCU. They really were.
Absolutely. And even in the X-Men, I remember too, because and this is why I know there's 5 seasons, because on the 5th season, they changed the animation a little bit. And I wasn't for it at first. I was like, oh, what is this garbage? I can't watch this. But they had an episode with Wolverine and Captain America. And it's really good. They also have a really amazing Mr. Sinister origin episode in that season as well.
Victorian England one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's dark. It tells a really gritty story. But it's amazing. So they show that. They show Mount Wundagore. They show Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So there's a lot. There's a lot in that X-Men cartoon, which begs the question, like, I wonder if they're gonna kick off an animated universe and just kind of smash it all in. They've probably done it, and I bet you anything too. They've probably done a good job keeping secrets like that under wraps, because again, it's not like you're gonna see these actors walking around and be like, "Oh, they brought so and so into the studio. Clearly, it's gonna be played all over again." Mm-hmm. It's not that easy, right? Like, and on top of that, to get a hold of the animations, concept art, and all that stuff, like, I don't think that's easy. So the surprises could be there, and we're not gonna be aware of it. They could even have they could even do the Fantastic Four and like have the Fantastic Four in it. We don't know.
All those heroes exist in that world. We know that. So yeah, they could go bananas. And personally, I thought all of those shows were great, maybe with the exception of Iron Man. That show had that was rough. But if they relaunch that universe, the MAU, oh my god, like we could be on the pinnacle of something that we never imagined. Like it could be the most exciting thing in the world.
But and it can cater to all sorts of audiences. Like if you look at what DC's animated universe has done, they have done a phenomenal job finding the right audience. And in fact, it's kind of almost like they just don't care. Like they don't care who they get, but they know what kind of stories they want to tell. And I'll tell you, I am on the verge of finishing Young Justice again for like the 20th time because, like, in my mind, it's probably one of the best modern animated superhero shows I've ever watched, ever. Like, it is as good as X-Men. Like, it lives up to that level.
I need to see that. I have one question though. My mom is here. You can walk by, Mom. Mom, who's your favorite X-Man? You can walk by.
My favorite X-Men?
Yeah.
That's what's his name there? First of all, James Marsden.
James Marsden.
Cyclops!
But what's the other guy's name there? Wolverine.
Oh yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Wolverine and Cyclops.
Particularly when Wolverine wears a tank top.
Yeah,
that's what he's a favorite.
Oh yeah, no, ladies can't deny that Hugh Jackman. I tell you, he's a one-man show. That man. But I think it's an interesting launch pad to do really like comic booky stories and not have to worry about the front and the back of the audience and just really create a medium like and to kind of use X-Men as a launch pad and re-kick off like an animated universe. It's brilliant because Marvel's animated side did not do well. It's gone up and down and left and right. And they had some solid projects here, but they dropped them fast. For example, Spectacular Spider-Man 2-season run canceled right at the peak of its height.
A crime. That was a crime.
That was
whoever canceled that show.
And some of the most brilliant writing and like directing in that show. Then you have Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, another phenomenal show. 2 seasons in, gets to the peak of its storytelling. They kill it right at the top of its popularity. And then on top of that, they had they kind of had something with the Ultimate Spider-Man. Then it went off the road, went off the rails with it. They had a weird Ultimate Avengers story that they did. That one was bizarre. So they kind of always had this up and down kind of thing with animation. But we live in a time now where like animation's top of its game. Like, we had Avatar: The Last Airbender. We have anime just destroying the market in terms of content. Like we had we had Attack on Titan. We had Castlevania of all things. Like, people were talking about that Netflix Castlevania series all the time. And so it's kind of at that point where it's like, why not like say, hey, like if we want to keep some of our more hardcore fans, we know that they're like, these classic fans have grown up with the properties. Why not recreate a series like X-Men and continue it right where it left off? But now we have all the properties. So why don't we tell all these crazy stories we wanted to tell and not have to worry about filling in the audience because we know the audience is watching.
And it's so strange. Like when you think about how the 90s, DC and Marvel were just going all out with cartoons in terms of like, we have a whole universe, we're going to connect everything.
Yeah.
Right? They cut loose. They just let everything connect in their cartoons in the 90s. And then the 2000s came around and they just stopped. They just did their own other things and whatever. It was dark times, Harry, dark times. And now we're at a point in culture and pop culture where motion pictures are trying so hard, studios are trying so hard to turn everything into a connected universe because of what the MCU did. They're trying so hard to be like, let's have now a bunch of Star Wars shows. Let's have Godzilla and Kong be a thing for some reason. Everything, there's supposed to be Dune shows. There's a Batman show that goes with the Batman movie. Like everything's trying to connect so much. How have cartoons not gone back to that yet? Like how have they not said, hey, we were doing this before it was cool. Let's show them let's show these young whippersnappers how it's done because we know how to do it. And now if we can get back into that groove, if that can become a thing again, like you said, like if the Fantastic Four exist in this universe of this X-Men show, so what's stopping them from showing up? What's stopping Iron Man from showing up on this show, right? War Machine helped Spider-Man fight Carnage. That was a thing. It was literally, that's why I love Marvel United, that board game, so much, because it reminds me of that cartoon. It was anything goes. You turn on the next episode, Aunt May might be having a chat with, I don't know, Jarvis, right? So there is room for them to go balls to the wall with this, and I really, really hope they do, because that would I think that would start an animation revolution in a way. It would. I'm flummoxed that it hasn't happened already when we're a decade plus, like a decade and a half deep into the era of everything needs to be a franchise. Like, how's it taken this long is what I'm asking.
It really boggles the mind. And really, you know, with this world of digesting content the way we do, you know, series are a great way. And but creative expression, right? Like, really the emphasis on creative expression here, because like anime, people are attracted to anime because no two anime series are the same. Like, they're so different. And
they're so creative. Their plots are always more creative than anything we make here.
100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, they hit so many notes. They tell so many different stories. They do so many different things. And their styles are so vastly... I mean, there's some similarities, sure, but like the way they approach action is very different. So for Marvel... you have all these different characters, franchises, and of course genres that you can tackle. And you know, X-Men, just, oh my God, like, you could do so much. You just, with you know, with all these shows, like, people, you know, Crunchyroll is big now. There's a new one. I can't remember what the new anime one is called. There's a new anime one that's big. So why not tackle this animation market? And why not kick off one of your top franchises that people still talk about today? Yes. I bet you like 90% of the YouTubers out there right now are all doing like a little skit, a bit, or whatever they're doing. But they're all being like, okay, if you haven't seen X-Men, here's why it's amazing. And people are going to go back to Disney Plus for that reason. I bet you there will be an article that Disney Plus numbers will go back up because of the X-Men animated series.
And you said something about 5 minutes ago that, like, it just opens up so many more possibilities, brother. Like, you said something about how, like, we own everything now. Like, it's all back in our hands, right?
Yeah.
When I say we, I mean Marvel, because I don't own anything. I'm too poor. But remember how with Spider-Man, there was that stupid thing where James Cameron was supposedly trying to make a Spider-Man movie. So he was like, you can't use Sandman or Electro because I'm going to use them in my movie. And so we never got Sandman on that show. And we got Electro like once, and it wasn't even really Electro. It was just like a weird like Nazi robot or something like that. Now you can have that universe's version of Sandman finally show up. You don't have to deal with that BS of like the studio saying no because maybe. Like, we can see Sandman in that world now. And the thought of that, there's some artist on Instagram who does these things where they're like, they animate these characters like, we never got so and so in X-Men or in Spider-Man, but here's what they would have looked like in that animation style. And you know, it's always like, oh, look how pretty that is. So to close this off, Ryan, I'm going to pose a similar question to you that I did for the Deadpool trailer. You get to choose one X-Men character who did not have a speaking role in the original cartoon, and you get to put them in this one. Who are you picking?
Oh my God, it's funny. I think about all the different X-Men characters. And some of the fun voices they had. Like, I love Ruckus's voice in X-Men. He's kind of like he's part of Mr. Sinister's crew, but he has the Islander voice that I just love so much. And he's like,
is he the guy who screams?
I don't know if it's. I don't. I think he's like the hair. He's got like the hairy the hair. He's kind of like Beast, but he has like a
Okay.
human head. And he's like, "You ain't going nowhere." Like I love it. Just like the voices they picked for it. Oh my god, what's a non-speaking role in the X-Men cartoon that I would have loved to have seen for casting?
Like if they didn't show up, it counts. Like if somebody who didn't show up, or even somebody like Deadpool was there as like a cameo, but he didn't say anything, so like he would count. It just somebody who is not already a speaking role in X-Men.
That's so hard though. Like that. Like for me,
I think I got mine.
Okay, you go first.
Onslaught.
Oh, see, you got one of the best ones, right? Onslaught would have been a really good one to see, 100%. Damn, that's good. See, for me though, one of the characters I did get, who did eventually, he had like one line, but it was like, one line. But I love this story though. I was a big fan of Weapon X story because obviously it's inspired by, and they never got to it, which I would love to see them explore more. But it's tied to Captain America. They it's the government finding a sneaky way of trying to make their next Captain America, and because of the political, obviously the liabilities of it is like they can't do it legally, so they do it illegally. Also all sorts of nasty stuff. But there's a character named Maverick. He has a metal suit that comes out of his body. Essentially, he's kind of like Colossus. And Wolverine meets up with them when they all have to go to the facility and unlock their memories. And it's called Weapon X Lies and Videotapes.
Oh yes,
and yeah, it's a great episode. Maverick has like one line, and Wolverine's like, "Oh, he's like, Maverick, no," because like he sees a grenade and it explodes in front of him, and he's like, "Oh man," he's like, "Nice suit," and he's like, "Thanks, I recommend you to my tailor." Like he says it with such a sleazy voice, but you know what? As I was telling that story, it didn't remind me. Strife. I would love to see Strife have a speaking role.
Ooh. Very good choice, my friend.
Yeah, I remember because he has so much to do with Cable, and he's like such a key stepping stone. They did not cover him at all. So
no, I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, I'm so excited we're getting this show. I hope there's more to come. I really hope it's
there's
not a
so much more to come. That is just a sample, man. Like we got all we got was reassurance that it's happening and it's coming soon. That's what it is. And I love it because I hope they show nothing more. I don't want to see any cameos or any fancy things in the trailer. You gave me everything I need to get me stoked and hyped for this show. And I will say, though, I am deeply saddened, though, because, first of all, the guy who played Magneto, he died a long time ago. But
I didn't know that.
The original voice of Magneto, he passed away. But I loved his voice for Magneto. If you ever watched the X-Men original series back in the day, he had the best voice for Magneto. He was just a joy to watch. Asteroid M is like one of my favorite episodes of the original X-Men series, animated series. And Wolverine. It sounds like I don't think that's the original guy. It doesn't sound like him at all. But
no, I mean he could have gotten old. Voices change.
Change. It could be him. And yeah, you're right. He could have just gotten old, and his voice is a bit more grittier. To be fair, though, it's one of those things where they didn't recast. It's like Megatron. It's not like they chose someone else just for the role. It's clearly they tried to get every single original actor for this show, and they got a majority of them. It's just all I'm saying is I will miss the original. I'm not sure about Wolverine, but I will definitely miss the original voices for Magneto and Wolverine because they were just they were so memorable. I loved them so much.
Yeah, man. The guy who played Kingpin in Spider-Man has passed away. So because he was old back then too. So if we get a Spider-Man show, I just hope they find somebody who sounds half as good as him.
It's like if they ever decided to do a reboot properly. And they did Megabyte because the guy, Tony J, is obviously no longer with us. But But he had a memorable voice, and it was
Nobody
so fun.
sounds like Tony J. That's
Yeah.
that I'd be hard pressed to find somebody. Well, any last thoughts, Ryan, before we wrap up our Valentine's week spectacular?
I will say the Deadpool one. A lot of people are putting their chips in, saying that it will be the building block for Secret Wars. And I would love to see that come to fruition. If you watch the end of the trailer, he actually does have a Secret Wars comic and a bottle of that soda in the Incredible Hulk by that comic. So it's kind of an interesting little nugget there for fans. Fantastic Four. All I can just do is spew my joy for the casting. I cannot wait. I love Pedro Pascal. I think the performance you're going to see there is one similar to the one from The Last of Us. It just fits kind of a grittier, lower tone voice. Very dry line reads for that kind of character. I'll be curious how he approaches it, but if I had to guess, your foundation is probably going to be the similar performance to The Last of Us. Vanessa Kirby, I just love her. I think she's going to be great. I think she's going to be a fun Sue Storm. Sue Storm's also a big character in terms of getting the casting right. So I'm very curious to see how she delivers that. Doom has said in the comics that she's considered one of the most powerful characters ever. So I'm going to see how that power is going to measure up in the movies. I love Joseph Quinn, the character he did for Stranger Things. It was a great nod to the kind of lifestyle I grew up with, minus the drugs. A character, an actor who can create a performance like that. I could not imagine the workshop process to make that character that Joseph Quinn did for Stranger Things. So, Johnny Storm's not an easy character to approach. You can't just slap anyone into that role. You have to understand the complexity. You have to go beyond the superficial, the low-hanging fruit that he's just a super aggressive kid. That's not the main source of his character. So I finally want to see a good approach. And I think Joseph Quinn was the right idea. And the thing is, to be honest, though, they actually kind of got him right in the Fox series, like in terms of, he's this rough kid from Brooklyn. Like he had no hope. He grew up in a hard life. And in the end, he got on top of his education and he became an astronaut. Like they nailed that story. They could do more. Obviously, they could always do more, but they did it. So again, this casting is solid. They have a great cast, and we're already off to the races with a great form of movie. So I cannot wait to see a teaser for that. And again, it just goes back to Marvel's coming out swinging, man. If this week proved anything, is Marvel's like, look, like we've made some mistakes. We're still learning, and at the same time, that's good. Right? You don't want someone sitting on the top of the hill being like, "Oh, I did it. You know, I figured it out. I've made history with my Infinity Saga. I don't need to do anything else." No, this is someone sitting back being like, "Okay, made some mistakes. Fans are responding the way they are. We need to slow down. We need to get it right." And as you said with the Sean Connery, like, I can't even do the accent as well as you. I thought I did a good Sean Connery. You nailed it to the wall. But yeah, it's like, take your time, like that's what you need to do. So I think Feige is behind the wheel right now. So these are properties that are pretty close to his heart, I imagine. So I'm very curious to see where this is going.
All I can say is the three things that make me happiest right now is that Fantastic Four looks like pure 60s, X-Men looks like pure 90s, and Deadpool looks like every time period all at once. So
there you go.
I'm all set. Well, that has been it for our Valentine's week spectacular. I'm very happy that we got to do this. It was a lot of ground to cover, but it was worth it. It was a reassuring pat on the head for every Marvel fan out there that we are getting to the juicy stuff in the multiverse saga. I've liked pretty much everything we've gotten so far, even though it hasn't been phases 4 and 5 were not my favorite phases, I've liked pretty much everything, and I just can't wait for the real juicy stuff that's coming down the pipeline. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
You are awesome. Thank you so much for watching and listening, everybody. We will see you all next time on Infinity Rewatch, where we have coming up on Infinity Rewatch X at the end of the month, everybody's favorite, X-Men 3, The Last Stand. Yeah, Ryan's already there. Ryan's got he's getting the whole script tattooed to his arms and legs. It's going to be great.
Just know.
So we'll see you soon for that. Until then, please have a marvelous day.